Hello, folks. My name is William Walford. Welcome back to Trekker's Delight with one of our sub shows, LGBTrek. We are so glad to be here. After it's been a while, Marie. I think it's
It
actually
has.
been
It's been a minute.
it's been a good minute. Like we've done like a number of FTP fighting the patriarchy shows out the bloom. Even did one impromptu one that just came out of nowhere,
I
and
blame the bourbon.
oh man. But yeah. So for today's episode, we are actually gonna get into a Star Trek. Well, of course, a Star Trek. Why is it not Star Trek? A Star Trek episode, specifically the Next Generation, season 4, episode 21, The Host. And it's either 21 or 23, but yes, The Host. Man, I gotta tell you,
Before we get into that, though, let us. We have a special guest with us
that's what
today,
I'm
and
saying.
we would like Eris to introduce yourself.
Please do.
Hey, yeah, so my name's Eris. I think I even have a text thing floating down here saying that. So, Eris, I am, uh, I'm fantastic at introducing myself, for one. Also, I am a trans woman. I've been that for about 8 months now, and been out for 6 months. Um, but what makes that germane to the topic today is that I've also been a Star Trek fan for as long as I can remember.
Right.
My first real memory is probably of Star Trek is watching Voyage Home on VHS. I went to see Undiscovered Country in theaters with my dad. And when I finally moved out of the complete rural sticks of upstate New York and into a slightly less rural area and had more than 3 TV channels available, I hooked onto the Next Generation in syndication and watched almost all of them, and have been following all of them really since.
We're so glad to have you on the show, Eris.
Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely.
We're stoked. We're stoked, and you are. I mean, and you are an internet out now. So
Yeah, you're internet out now. And Marie, if you would, let's just say for all the thousands of people that Eris is going to bring over here, can you introduce yourself?
So I am Marie Brownhill, and you may have seen some of the things that I do on Unimatrix 47 or Modern Gamer for Game Industry News, and other Trekker's Delight podcast segments.
You definitely have history.
I know, and I gotta say, I'm looking really creepy, like right there.
You're not. You look beautiful. I noticed you took the
No.
shirt off.
This is a thing. This is a thing. I got to credit Eris with this because I had not just touched makeup in forever, and I was like, if my friend, who is a late blooming woman, is going to out makeup me, this is a bad sign.
Whatever lipstick you are wearing is holding up to all that bourbon extremely well.
Yeah.
Is that entire cup bourbon?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Wow.
Oh, God,
You are putting. I mean, I live in the drunkest state in the country. I'm from Wisconsin, and you're putting me to shame right now. I'm
It's
sitting
law
here
school,
drinking
my
a
friend.
hard
It's law
seltzer,
school.
and you're
Law school does it for you.
You're chugging a bottle's worth of bourbon.
I'm getting the vapors now.
Sit up. Oh my God. What's wrong with me?
I know, but it's not. We're not quite like ripped the glasses off yet. And I think we're going to have to save that for some of the discussions with respect to today's episode, which, as William mentioned, is The Host. Hey, Eris, you want to do a synopsis for us?
Please.
Sure. Yeah. So The Host is a episode of The Next Generation, season 4, as we covered, and it was actually the first episode where we got to meet the Trill. Although they lacked a great deal of the properties that we come to know and love from the Trill by the time Deep Space Nine rolls The basic gist of this is that a Trill ambassador who is part of the Federation, but who no one seems to actually know about the whole trilliness, symbiote in the belly thing, is on the Enterprise on their way to a treaty negotiation between these two moons, where one moon is like using the atmosphere of their home world to power all their gadgets, but it's gonna kill everybody on the second moon, and they're at odds over whether they should keep doing this or not. Hey, our profits over the destruction of your entire species. Where does this sound familiar from? Believe it or not, though, that is not the actual topic of the episode.
What's past is prologue 4000.
Yes, exactly.
Alex.
The episode actually opens after Captain Picard's little personal log induction with our lovely Dr. Crusher, or as we will know her for this episode, Dr. Beverly, making out quite intensely with this Trill ambassador. And we quickly learn that they are deeply involved in a relationship, with a scene of her waking up in his quarters.
That has lasted for 10 days?
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I am 150% behind Dr. Beverly getting laid, but there's an intensity to this, guys, that's just really weird.
I mean,
this was, from at least my memory of The Next Generation, this is some of the strongest, the heaviest implied sexual activity that we get very often.
I mean, until we get to that infamous sex candle episode.
Fair.
Dr. Crusher is the most sexually fluid person on the ship. And I think
she's willing. She's willing to fuck gas, guys.
I would argue that she is pansexual.
Fair.
I gotta tell you, I'm not. I feel like we're gonna have to work with a better definition of pansexuality here.
It's the only thing I could come up with on the spot. Shit. Okay. I don't even know what I am.
When you've got an entire galaxy to work with, pans are really just scraping the surface.
Right, and I really feel like this is going to get to one of the rather fundamental problems I have with this episode, but we haven't gotten to that portion of the synopsis, and I keep derailing things. Anybody who's watched this before is like, "Oh yeah, no, it's her again." But so, Eris, please finish the summary.
So, our Trill ambassador is apparently undercover Trill. I guess the Federation doesn't know what Trill are quite yet, although it is apparently perfectly willing to bring them on board as ambassadors, because that's what the Federation does. And when they get to their destination, and the ambassador, Odon, I think is his name?
Odon, yes.
Odon, yes. Has to go and negotiate a peace. He says he doesn't want to be transported. Now, his secret reason is because this would apparently disrupt his symbiote, which is something we don't see again by the time Deep Space Nine goes around. But first introduction of the Krill.
God.
He also doesn't have spots and has a weird brow ridge. So there were obviously a few things that had to still be hammered out. But so he and Riker take off in his shuttle to go to the peace conference thing, and some renegades from one of the moons shoot up the shuttle and grievously injure Odon. Riker, being the heroic and capable pilot that he is, gets the shuttle back to the Enterprise. And while Odon is dying in sickbay, is when Dr. Beverly discovers that the body she's been getting with is really just a host for a tiny little colorfully dotted trilobite thing.
Well, initially she's like, "Oh God, one of the problems with one of the reasons that I can't treat you is because you have this parasite." And then this is when Odon is like, "The parasite's me."
I literally just put together when I called the symbiote like a trilobite that's where the Trill get their name from. So that's taken 25 years for me here.
Everybody, we have all kinds of revelations on this show.
Apparently so. I didn't do that.
I feel like Jermaine is telling me that I have the sheer fucking hubris.
No, he's saying no.
Continuing to push through the synopsis here. Odon's host body dies. They can't get a Trill ship with a replacement body there in time. It is helpfully pointed out that you can't implant a living slug thing in Data and expect it to live, although he volunteers as tribute. So instead, Riker volunteers. And we get the scene of Dr. Crusher putting her erstwhile lover inside of Riker. And then it turns out, again, by Deep Space Nine, the Trill gets to the point where the Trill have been developed narratively to the point where a Trill symbiote fuses their own personality with the personality of their host. As we get them in the next generation here, they completely take over the host body. So Odon gets put inside Riker and kind of just does some little symbiote things that I imagine involve tentacles in his brain somehow, and is.
And this is not the sex part, guys.
We're not even there yet.
And takes him over and is effectively Odon and is continuing the treaty. And meanwhile, really wants to continue the thing that he had going on with Dr. Beverly. Now, obviously, for Dr. Beverly, this is a little weird because, of all the commanding officers that Dr. Beverly may or may not be shagging, Riker is not one of them.
That was very diplomatic, Eris. Well done.
Very diplomatic, like the commanding officer that Dr. Beverly may or may not be
shagging.
So she, in most of the episode, we get this romantic tension as Odon Riker wants to get back in the sack with her, and she is struggling with her feelings about this. Until we get to the very end, when the treaty is concluded successfully, Odon saves the day, and they put the Trill symbiote in a new host, who happens to be a woman, and Dr. Crusher is just like, despite her being an incredibly attractive woman with a very strategically placed brow ridge, I might add, Dr. Crusher's just like, nope, can't do that, done, the end.
No, that phase in college is over.
Yeah. Cut to end credits. Well, although we got that one little very, very Trek-esque. And what lesson did we learn today, class? Dialogue about with Dr. Crusher saying, maybe someday our species will be developed enough to accept that kind of love.
Which is funny because we will actually see them really tackle this concept several seasons later in The Outcast, which we will also be covering as part of the series on gender and representation. Yeah. And they don't do it well there either, guys. Spoiler.
I mean, when it comes to touchy subjects, they rarely do everything 100%, and that's okay, because it's like back then, in the 80s, right at this point was season 4.
I think this is no. I think this is early 90s. I think this might actually be 90
or 91.
Okay, because Generations was 94, so this was 90. Okay, so yeah, at that point. And this is the first of a whole arc when we're learning more about the Trill Society. Yeah, I'm not saying the writers didn't know what they were doing. I am saying, what I will say is, I don't think they knew what it would grow into and what it would represent. So,
yeah.
Are we giving them a pass?
Who?
The writers. So, all right, we have now. Okay. Can we now talk about like the real drama here, which is
Dr.
that
Beverly in love?
I mean, yeah, no, I'm 150% behind Dr. Beverly being allowed to be in love and even be in lust, guys, because during Berman era Trek, female sexuality had such just uneven portrayal and representation.
I'm just gonna let you take it from here because I really want to. I'm interested.
Okay, so we're gonna step into FTP for just a second, guys.
Just for 2 seconds.
But like part of the issue with Berman era Trek is there seems to be this very real question about like are women sexual beings? How do we treat that? Is their sexuality purely going to be in service to like one of the male character sexualities, that kind of thing? So it's interesting that we start with this just incredibly intense affair with Odan. I mean, it comes out of nowhere, really. There's no hint about it. There's no whatever. And I mean, as I was telling everybody earlier, I'm 150% certain that Odan and Dr. Beverly shacked up on a biobed and got caught. It's that kind of teenage hormonal lust relationship. And I really sort of think that that was one of the ways that they were trying to back away from what would eventually happen. Because if it's easier if Beverly is only attracted to this physical being, and when that physical being stops being there, then it's easier for everybody to kind of write off the fact that she makes the wrong call here, rather fundamentally.
She makes a couple of bad calls in this episode, I would say. But,
oh, what are the other bad calls? Do tell.
Well, the part of the synopsis I kind of missed there is she and Riker do in fact get together. It doesn't fade to black as they're making out, but it's pretty strongly implied that Dr. Crusher slept with Riker while the Trill symbiote was
right, which raises a whole host of consent questions.
Right, and that was the thing that surprised me about that scene. Really, was that the Odan would go there. This is how the Trill exist, is by going between host bodies. I would think at least that they, as a culture, would have come up with some protocols at some point in time about, okay, so what does the host body consent to us doing with it?
In Deep Space Nine, they do, and there's a whole host of taboos, right? Like, and that's actually one of the things we're going to get to in the next episode. If you decide to join us, or even if you don't, that's what we're doing. Next episode is Rejoined.
Gotcha.
Because one thing about Rejoined, just a little snippet, is that when you think about the rules that have been put in place for Deep Space Nine, Odan technically broke them time and time and again, twice, through two hosts, twice, through Riker and through the biologically female host in the end.
Right.
When by the rule, you're not supposed to do that. Now, I don't know what was going on in Odan's head.
Slash Riker's.
Well, I mean, hey, right? Riker's beard. I don't know, but all I can say is pretty much what
Odan the symbiote was completely overwhelmed by Riker's intense sexuality. It's all about that codpiece in Angel One, guys.
I'm just telling you, like I said, I'm not saying the writers didn't know what they were doing. I still say they don't. I know that they didn't know what it would grow into. Like,
I really sort of think that they knew what they were trying to do. It was just a question of how far they could take it in 1990. Because I have no doubt that one of the things, while I don't necessarily think that they were touching on transness per se,
right.
Just because it is 1990, and while trans people obviously existed, in fact, the Stonewall riots were actually sparked by a trans woman. I don't think they were mainstream enough.
I don't think that would have really been on the radar of anyone outside of very deep in the queer community.
Right. Like, I really don't think that was on anybody's radar, but I do think homosexuality was.
Yeah.
very clearly, and I think they're trying to kind of explore that.
Right.
And they fail really hard.
I remember at the time when I first saw this episode, again in the early to mid 90s, I had just been starting to get into reading a lot of cyberpunk literature. So the thing that came right out to me was more the consciousness transfer aspect and just a mind inhabiting different bodies and different forms. And maybe that's something that the writers had in mind there too, with a lot of William Gibson and Neil Stephenson writing in the late 80s. I don't know.
Some of the early seeds for the concept of transhumanity. I think you're probably right that was floating around. But I do, especially considering that the Outcast follows, I do really think that they were aware. And also, this is 1990, guys. I mean, this is AIDS epidemic.
Yeah.
In terms of history.
Huh.
So there's this whole conversation I think that's going on, especially with the transfer of the symbiont. And I don't necessarily know that's going on, but I think I don't think they're trying to make an allusion to the AIDS epidemic here. But what I think they're trying to do is they're trying to have this conversation without invoking that and without kind of bringing down the wrath of the censors, the networks, everything else is floating around.
Because there's a way to say it without saying it.
Which is one of the things that Trek's been good at forever.
Right. Since amok time, right?
Yep. Well done.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you. I've been doing my homework.
But one of the things I really kind of want to get to is
damn it, Jermaine!
I mean, what is this? Like, we have to take a shot every time she shows up?
I feel like when we do drunk Trek, that's what we have to do every time we take a shot. Like, not Eris. Taking a drink.
Just let me know for next time, and I can be better equipped down here in my basement fridge. So.
Oh my gosh.
But one of the things I really want to hit, though, is this question that I think gets posed with this particular episode, which is, if you're willing to shtup an alien, why is gender so important here?
And
I knew this was going to come to this.
Yeah. I had two thoughts.
I mean, please, like, we knew that this was going to be like an issue for me because I don't care about the plumbing.
Let's talk.
I had two thought streams going on this for Crusher in character. On a meta level, it's obvious that the episode was trying to bring in a talk about same-sex relationships there at the very end, with, like you said, really not invoking the wrath of censors. There were certain things that they just simply couldn't get away with at that point in time.
Again, she's cute.
She's very cute. But so, on one level, I think it would be fair to expect that a cosmopolitan Federation citizen of the 24th century would probably be, especially in the medical field, maybe would have a broad enough set of experiences to know about what works for them and what doesn't. And maybe Dr. Crusher had that, buy until the end of med school thing going on, and just knows that she really needs Dick, whether it be human or alien or what have you. And
I gotta tell you, like, I just sort of feel like this is cheating, because if you've got a replicator, I mean, my God, people. Straps exist.
I was, and that was me giving Crusher a pass, really. I find it much more believable to think that a cosmopolitan citizen of the Federation in the 24th century would be open to all kinds of different experiences regarding gender, presentation, equipment that you have going on down there, what have you. So yeah, and in that regard, Crusher balking at this cute alien host for her former love and just saying, no, I can't do this. And I, if I remember from the episode, the past they kind of gave her was, this is just too much change in too short of a period. You've gone through 3 different phases in the past day, and I just can't handle this. Which
like
feels
I need
like
a break.
real softball. Yeah, like that. Like you're we
Well, I mean,
basically know
hold
that you're
on.
all
Is that
fucking
really
holograms.
a softball though? Like, I mean, is that really a softball issue? Because one of the things that she actually talks to Troy about is this conversation about like what is it about Odan that she loves. Yeah, no, this is my favorite. Like, absolutely. I'm like, yes, even 24th century women are like, yeah, manis. But I think it's one of the things that one of the opportunities with this episode that they really miss is riffing off of that concept, like how integral to the attraction process, how important is it to you that the person to whom you bind yourself looks the way they do. And I mean, that's a real conversation. I mean, I can only imagine that and you don't have to share, obviously, but I can only imagine that you and your wife had to have that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that is it's a really big issue for a lot of trans people, whichever way they come out to a binary gender or non-binary. The idea that, hey, if I have a current partner, how are they going to feel if I do this? And I know that I've been enormously lucky in that my wife, who I've been with in various capacities for about 10 years now, has been 100% supportive and honestly really kind of pushed me in this direction once I started.
Because she's just blatantly badass.
She kind of helped to move me along there. So I know that I've been very lucky in that regard. And maybe that for me made me less cognizant of the discussions Troy and Crusher were having about the appearance of Odan, because I just went straight to the, oh no, it's the person inside that you're in love with. But I think that does for a lot of trans people, that raises a very important topic there.
Because I mean, I think it's completely fair, and I know this is going to sound strange, but I think it's completely fair to say, hey, there are things that I don't find attractive, that I am not, that are just not going to do it for me. Like everybody has a right to have like a preference and taste.
Right. And that was one of the things that when I was kind of mentally preparing some notes for myself on this, that was one of the things that I was kind of wanted to bring up is that I don't think it's fair to give Dr. Crusher shit if she has a preference. If she just knows that, hey, this is what works for me, and it involves having to have a dick. I mean, we can say that might be unrealistic for our
or just being masculine
Federation citizen. But
like before we like narrow it to dick, let's just say masculine presenting.
Okay, sure.
William, I think you need to out yourself now. Like I do. I think you need to tell us what you just texted us.
Look, see, what had happened was no, for real. Okay, so this brings up an interesting conversation, and because we're on a podcast, we have to choose our words carefully. But
since when?
Look, okay.
I'm going to remind you of the phrase "gay ass barbershop" and blow up dolls.
No, okay. So I think Kardashians are actually attractive. I do, but I do not think Ferengi are attractive. So it is. I agree with Eris when she said that. It's really not fair to give Crusher. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. It's just like, come on, like
But it's not even
we
that.
went
Like,
through three
I am
hosts
not
in one
saying that
episode.
she's not allowed to have. In fact, I completely understand. I'm like, if all of a sudden this person that I would have to have a very real like thought if this person that I was in love with ended up being in something I found reprehensible. I'm also trying to think of something that I wouldn't be attracted to, and I'm really kind of struggling with that one.
Well,
Imagine
you're
that you
more
woke
you're
up
you're more
tomorrow.
bisexual than I am, though.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
You,
It's like there's like 5% of me that is attracted to women, and so it would be extremely difficult for me if, say, my husband. I mean, it would be very very difficult. But I guess depending on how many years we've been together and how deep the love is, maybe that love will break through. But I don't know yet. I don't know. But what I do know is I don't like Ferengi. That's what I do know. That's what I can tell you. Now, what I will say for this conversation, what we face in today's society, the icon is still the twinkish, short, white, skinny Disney Channel looking male. Whether
Tom
whether
Holland.
I'm
Sorry.
fuck Tom. Whether not like anyway. And the reason I get into that is because there even in the LGBTQ community there's still colorism, racism. There's still um, God help me. There's still
I mean, there's
transphobia.
a
There's
hierarchy,
still a
right? Like,
lot. There is still a
yeah.
lot. It's actually like what Cork said. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Which is why there's a lot of body shaming, fat shaming. It just goes on. If you do not look like this shaped icon that is popularized by the media and in part us, because some people choose to watch it regardless. Me, I turn the TV off. But you ain't getting a view from me. I don't care how little that might be. But so it's like when we're relating those issues, how do we relate it to the future? Because there are some people that feel like racial preference is a racist, and where others will say, well, how is me preferring black this or white that over this any different than me preferring a um, man over a woman? Again, that's the conversation that I feel like is leading into when it comes to Beverly, because how far will those boundaries go? And that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to be very careful with how I'm choosing my words, because this is a very touchy conversation. But I also think that it's more fluid than we think. I just recently watched a video. Forgive me for being on TikTok and I'm a millennial, but a study was done where there was some sort of anonymous sexuality test, okay, and 20% of them identified as straight, and 20% of them identified as gay or lesbian, while the others 60% identified as other. They didn't say whether if they were bisexual. They didn't say if they're pansexual, demisexual, sapiosexual. They didn't say none of that. They just said other.
To be
Meaning,
fair, we've covered my struggle with the fact that like they keep changing the definitions, and so like I no longer know where I fit anymore.
well, I came up in
I mean,
the
I swear to God, y'all, like this is almost like the gay equivalent of like whippersnappers get off my lawn.
no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, I'm pushing 40 myself, and some of the one of the issues I have relating to the trans community is the shenanigans that the kids out there are getting up to these days, and how fast they bounce around through things and changing their acronyms and what part of the LGBTQIA mafia they're identified with and what have you. And it
I
can
know,
be
right? Like, I mean,
exhausting.
all of a sudden, all of my swag is now inappropriate, and I'm like, come on.
and not to mention the ageism. Not to mention the ageism,
Oh yeah, no,
where
that's
where
also a
it's like if you
conversation.
are as so much as 2 years older than me, you are invalid. You are a non-factor. You are nothing. And now again, I take personal issue with this because the struggles that millennials and each generation had their own set of struggles. Okay, let's just get out the way. Okay, I don't know the specifics of those struggles or those situations, but they exist. Therefore, we should not disrespect it at all. Period. So with where the ageism comes in, it's just like you get told no by your parents, and then you take it to TikTok. Oh my God, I'm being abused. Oh my God, help me! It ain't nothing happened to you except your mom told you to go wash the dishes. And so then you get mad when daddy goes over there and changes the Wi-Fi password. And so this is totally different. This is very different.
I love that we have gone from like this whole conversation about like the nuance to sexual attraction to like daddy changing the Wi-Fi password in like 5 minutes.
It definitely connects to other different situations. What I was going to lead into, and then so I won't go too far off topic, is just like me myself, homosexual, openly, proud. As of 2015, a homosexual black man. I was kicked out of Boy Scouts when I was 18. I'm 27 right now, about to be 28, so about 10-year anniversary. But I'm still an Eagle Scout. They couldn't take that away. But they kicked me out at that point. But they can't say that today because Gen Z and Gen Alpha are now growing up in an era where it is now legal to go in that and be yourself. So this definitely opens the door when we're talking about the what we now interpret the trill as. I can't blame them for doing that the way they did. You know,
I mean, you're right. There's a whole conversation to be had, and I brought this up frequently during our Amok Time episode.
You did.
I mean,
I had a hard time seeing it, but you know,
can I help it? But like, I mean, in 1990, it's still largely illegal.
Very illegal, like until 2003, right? I think you said 2003 for California.
Mm-hmm. No, 2003 was actually Lawrence v. Texas. It was it wasn't just 2003. Like it wasn't 2003 for just California. It was for most of the United States.
Right. So we can see.
I was graduating college, and I'm never gonna get over that, guys. Like I'm just not. That it took until I was graduating from college for that to get fixed, and then Obergefell so much later.
I think Jermaine is up to something, y'all. I just saw him upload something. He's probably gonna put it up in a second. But anyway, okay, he's not. Okay, anyway. I
mean, I'm still disappointed that we haven't hit an Orion slave girl moment.
I'll be honest. I will take those Orion dudes any day of the week. I ain't gonna lie. The one I saw on Discovery was cute. I go for him. I would, without question.
Personally, I'm into Andorian women, but
ooh,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I am all about being subjugated by Emperor Giorgio, so I can't really say anything. That woman can walk on my face any day.
Fair. I think that wanting Emperor Giorgio to walk on your face is just its own sexuality, really.
Jermaine is dying right now. He is dying.
Like at some point, you're like, you are a sexual being, so yes, Emperor Giorgio is going to walk across your face.
So let me ask this question. So we know what we like, we know what we don't like, and we know what we face here in America today with our LGBTQ community. So to compare and contrast, what are the parallels with LGBT dating with this episode compared to today? Because the conversation between Riker Odan, because I believe that's the proper terminology for Trill, for Riker or Will Odan, I guess, depending on how you look at it, and Crusher, there was like, she kept saying, I don't know who you are. You didn't tell me. And he was saying, well, this is normal to me. You didn't tell me that you were a woman because that's normal to you. So what do you guys think about that? Like, is it good to be transparent, or should someone, because I understand that for many people, it's not our job or their job to educate anyone. But at the same time, what context does that fall in, and in what situation? I know I went all over with it, but I love this conversation. I'm here for it. So what do y'all think?
So for me, and you may have a different perspective on this, Eris, but for me, that really spoke to trans panic.
Okay.
Trans panic, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
There's
And
a
the
very
idea.
real cis-het male fear that, and again, I don't understand this. This is so far out of like my own personal experience. I can't even like wrap my brain around this terror. Because again, like I don't care about plumbing. Just don't. Um, which is also why I think really fundamentally why I have always really struggled with this episode. Because it just doesn't make sense to me at all. Um, it just doesn't. But there seems to be this very real fear that they're going to meet this attractive woman, they're going to get home, and it's going to be terrible. In fact, even as recently as Family Guy, there's a pretty terrible sequence where Seth MacFarlane and Brian, or through the character of Brian, has this happen, and Brian loses his mind. So for me, that conversation really spoke to that terror. And I have literally never met anyone, like certainly never met a trans person who would not be like fully upfront about that, because it's a
Right.
safety issue.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Because this is where it's leading to. Is it, and why I don't, because I don't know the experience, is why I don't speak on it very much. But what would you guys say or well, for the terms of safety, I believe they should be upfront. Like let it be known via text, email, phone call, however you do that for your
Smoke
safety.
signal, semaphore, whatever.
Because something that mom had to teach me as a black man, and in this case a black gay man in America, is it's not about who's right, it's about who's left, especially in terms of police brutality. All it matters is, will you be alive in that situation in the end? We know what's right, we know what's right, but it's not going to matter if we don't live to fight another day.
Right. And with the violence statistics with respect to trans people, I mean, it's terrifying. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember Laura making a post about that and being afraid for her wife. And like, I gotta say, she's right. Like, I worry.
Yeah. And so, and that's what I was going to bring up here too, is that it clearly relates to the whole trans panic thing, which I think is in many ways, and just bear with me as I talk through all this, I think that trans panic is a straw man on the part of cis-het men who bring it up. Because every trans woman knows the statistics.
Okay.
And no trans woman is going to go home with a man who she has reason to believe thinks that he's getting a cis woman and just be like, oh, surprise, penis, you're going to be okay with this, right? Like, every trans woman who's dating men, cis men, is going to disclose before things get too far while she's still in a safe public space to do so. If you want to talk about, and that's not a question of ethics. We can argue whether that's ethically or morally correct that trans women be expected to do that all till we're blue in the face. It's a safety thing, because the violence statistics are overwhelming that cis men feel entitled to act out with violence if they are presented with a surprise penis.
And have a disturbing, the glasses have come off, guys, and have a disturbing like backstop in terms of the legal system too. And that's one of the things that I find most disgusting, is that, not only that this defense gets run, but that it has gotten some traction.
I mean, gay panic was a valid defense until fairly recently in most jurisdictions, if I'm not mistaken. I think
it had a lot to do with Matthew Shepard, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that story. Now, I'm actually glad that as a gay man, I'm glad they actually taught us that situation, and as it happened, the truth, they didn't hide anything. Now, being coming from, middle of nowhere, conservative, but black dominated Brinkley, Arkansas, there was still bias for the story being told in the first place, but it was told the way it needed to be told, and it let me know the gravity of the situation where people like me were and still are in some capacity treated.
So I guess and this may be an inappropriate question, but I do have a question for you. Like, when dealing with your particular, like, your sexuality, there's a very real tradition in a lot of Black communities with a very specific version of masculinity. Like, how did that go for
Okay.
you?
So basically, can you rephrase the question? Like, are we talking about sexuality in reference to male masculinity in the African American community?
Right, because I have a fundamental. Okay, let me explain. I have a
Okay.
fundamental belief that a lot of homophobia is very specifically targeted at gay men because it's very closely related to misogyny.
Yes.
Because these are people who have chosen to step away from being masculine and have adopted lesser lesser attributes and are acting as women, which is insane because the whole point of being gay is that it's not about that. you know um but I do fundamentally think that this is very, very tied to a lot of the same sort of like historical hate for women.
Okay. I'll try to answer this the best way I can. Growing up, of course, I had to hide, even though everyone could see right through me. You know,
So
didn't
you were
do
in
it.
a glass closet?
I was, and I thought, I'll be honest with you, I thought I was doing well. I thought I was doing well until I went through some of my mom's old footage because mom kept a lot of. I'm the only child, so she had a lot of videos of me in her phone, and I about 6 months ago, I grew the guts to actually look through them because I knew I downloaded it, but I never looked through them because memories and stuff. Well, when I found it, I found one of me, and it was when I was 15. I was gay as hell, y'all. I was gay as hell. I looked at that shit. I was like, I didn't do shit, y'all. I didn't do shit anyway.
Oh
So
my god. Oh my god. Let's talk about like the sheer number of like old photographs of myself that I have found where my head's on a swivel, like hot chick walks by and I'm like,
what the? But
like I'm sitting here like, why did it take me so long to figure that out?
right. So Um, I don't know how everyone else was treated. I've been told, and I've personally experienced that LGBT people of color get it like at the bottom totem pole of mistreatment. Because growing up, I did not have a people to go to. The closest people that I had were Trekkies, and even then, I knew about three in my entire life until I met you guys. So I could not. Because of the way I speak. Oh my God, you talk so white. Because I was gay, you. I don't even want to use the words that they used against me. Just know that it was highly inappropriate and just not fitting for this podcast. Jermaine, you already know what those words are. But basically, to put it in layman's terms, you are not a real man if you like other men. That's the nicest way I can put it. I'm not even bringing Christianity into this. I'm not bringing religion as a whole into this because that's a whole different ballpark. We're just talking about how not just people that were older than me, but how people my own age and younger felt. Even though the generations after 2012, which was the year I graduated high school, mysteriously were bisexual. So it's like William and two others took the brunt force of that, just so the people in the coming generations, leading into Gen Z, would have more acceptable lives, even though they face their own struggles. Because you're not going to live life without struggle. But being in Brinkley and being in Arkansas, living life in general, because they see I'm 6'3", I have a beard, I have when I talk to you guys, I'm comfortable, so I use kind of like my mid-tone voice. But when I'm around certain company, I have to put on my bass voice. I have to act a certain way. I don't act straight, but to them, it's interpreted as acting straight. I don't even look at women. I don't, because it's just I don't want to. I don't have to. I don't have to. I came out. I'm good. But some people just assume. Now, this gets a little foggy because a lot of people believe, and there's reason to believe, that William is bisexual. Okay. That's a whole different topic. That's a whole different ballpark and a whole nother episode. But today I am gay as fuck. Okay. Okay. And if you don't, and if that's not enough for you, oh, hey, Will is gay. Look at this. Will is gay. Okay. And for those out there that are other millennials that were in college with me, I'm personally demisexual. That means I'm attracted via connection, and that I that's me. Sapiosexual is intelligence. Pansexual is personality, if I'm not mistaken. X, Y, and Z. I don't really know what Crusher
I need a
is.
flowchart. I do.
All I know is I'm in the other. In that.
So if somebody is watching this and has a flowchart, if y'all could link me that would be great.
I mean, sexuality is a spectrum. It's a whole spectrum.
I feel like there are as many flowcharts as there are queer people with Tumblr.
Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question, but just what I do know is, if you are a man, if you are not masculine, if you are attracted to other men, whether they are masculine or not. You are not masculine, therefore you are not a real man. And the term real man has been float around forever and used so inappropriately. Like it started as be a man, and then it turned into be a real man, and then it turned into real N words this and real B words that. So it's a bunch of stuff. But that's what I grew up listening to, and still here to this day. Now, because William is 6'3", with a beard, and he will kick your ass any damn day of the week. Like, you mess with me.
To be fair, Eris is not short.
Right. Marie, you mentioned earlier some of my wife Laura's concerns about my own safety, and it's something I have to remind myself of to be conscious of, because I'm 6'3" and fairly obviously male-bodied. To no matter how much.
But you have a masculine physique, which many women have a masculine physique. Yeah.
Right. And I have, having not come out until I was 38, I have a lifetime of cishet white guy confidence behind me too. So I don't have the some of that fear or worry about how the world is going to react to me that people who don't have that privilege carry with them into the world too.
Okay.
Right. I mean, because one of the things about being female is that it's weirdly more acceptable to be bi to straight men.
It is.
It is not acceptable to be bi in certain lesbian communities.
Oh.
At all.
Which kind of touches on getting back to the episode that we were talking about here, and the what part of modern LGBTQ dating or relationships would the ending of this episode speak to. Before we launched off on the whole trans panic and the fear that trans women have to face about disclosure to straight men they're dating, I would think that it might be more relevant to think about trans women who identify as lesbians disclosing or not disclosing to other women they're dating, where the fear of violent reprisal and the unveiling of the nether regions is much less of a thing than it is with cishet men.
That's an interesting question. You're really the only person on the screen that has any experience
And
with
my
it.
own personal experience on that is extraordinarily limited because I met my wife and got married and spent 9.5 years with her before coming out. And I truly didn't have a clue that I was trans or might choose to identify stronger with femininity until about the 38th year of my life. So until the 9 years into that. So this is an aspect of queer dating where my knowledge is pretty much hypothetical and based off of reading. We're trying to empathize with other people's experiences.
That's actually very interesting. Something I would like to ask you. Has anyone questioned the validity of your coming out for them? Well, for you, you just flat out didn't know. But for them, they probably said, "Well, why wait until you're 38? If this was real, then this would have came out early on." When they clearly don't understand that you come from a different generation than I did. So what was that like for you specifically?
Arius and I are geriatric millennials. We're still in the same generational line.
Look, I'm at the end. Y'all are at the beginning. Okay, so
I've had. If anyone questioned that, it would probably be myself. My friend group has been enormously supportive.
Okay.
I don't think anyone was really that surprised, to be honest.
Really?
My entire and this could be a multi-segment. My experience in going from Dan to Eris could be a multi-segment podcast in its own right. But I've always had.
Dan always had a very real love for sparkly shit. Like
Dan always had a
I mean, absolutely. But wouldn't that
like? I mean, forgive me for dead naming, but also
no, I started it. You're clear, and you knew me as Dan for much longer than Eris. So, but yeah, no, I always had an affinity for more feminine things. My lesbian friends, I've been inducted as an honorary lesbian so many times I lost track. And I always had a lot more not a lot more female friends than I did male friends. So it was really just
a matter of time.
The fact that it took me a long time, and because I never really felt the body dysphoria that a lot of trans people describe, which made me question the validity of it for a long time. Like I felt like even when I was starting to think these thoughts in my head, I was like, well, maybe I might like being a woman more, but it's not like I feel super uncomfortable with being a man, so I can't really be trans. And it really wasn't until the pandemic, and I was fortunate enough to be working at home for the entire pandemic, basically gave me a lot of time to sit around and wallow in my own thoughts, that I started to bring myself to the point of saying, no, if I have a preference for being feminine, that's also valid. That would be a valid reason to undertake a transition, and that's kind of what launched this ship, so to speak. But yeah.
All right, guys. We are at time, actually.
Wow.
We sincerely hope that Eris is going to join us for the rest of the series. Like, not that I'm guilting you into this, but I am.
Sure. You guilted me into a World of Warcraft subscription once.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. But that was before I knew what a Charlie Foxtrot Blizzard was going to become.
That is fair. Yes. This was back in the days when we loved Blizzard.
Right. So anyway, I do want to thank you for coming on and being willing to share so much of your personal journey. Like, I very much appreciate it. I know William does as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Definitely.
This has been great. And for anyone who's watching, if you are interested in this content, please, of course, like, subscribe, comment, and find Trekker's Delight anywhere you find your podcasts.
Checkbox.
Yeah, up there. Yeah.
not getting struggling to work with the mirror thing, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a struggle. It really is. So anyway, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon. Live long and prosper.
I just want to talk to her. No, I just want to talk to her. Like I heard, like what I think Robin said. I think she wanted to pull her hands back.
She wanted to do a bitch.
No, she wanted to.
Bitch.
So if you can't tell, they have thoughts about Discovery.
Look, here's the thing. Cancel culture might get everyone else, but they won't come for me in this subject. If you are our allies, we are not talking to you. We are not talking to you. This does not pop, 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 pop. Okay, we're not talking to you. Stop trying to take our shit and make it your goddamn business. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Did I say your name? No, I said Packers and Kardashian. If you are neither in that category, go to another show.